In this video, we look at how to run a regression, a linear regression, in Excel. From the previous tutorial on creating dummy variables from categorical variables, you'll recognize this data set. The data set that we have has individual IDs initially. Our dependent variable is ddist, which is the distance that the individual has traveled during the day, the age of the individual's gender as a categorical variable, and then the individual's gender as a dummy variable. First thing we're going to do is we're going to move our variable to make sure that all of our independent variables are lined up next to each other. Then we're going to go into Data. In Data, there's a tab at the far right called Data Analysis. In Data Analysis, we want to select Regression. This gives us a new window that allows us to input the information that we need to run the regression. The two main pieces of information are what are the dependent variable, or what is the independent variable, and what are the independent variables. We'll start off with the independent variable. So the independent variable is ddist, and it starts in B1 and it goes all the way to the bottom. Then we can click on this button and it brings us back. So this is our input range. The X range, actually something else that makes it easier afterwards in the regression is to make sure that you click this box called labels, and when you select your variables that you include the labels. Now what we'd like to do is input the X range, and that means to include the independent or explanatory variables. What I'm going to do here is just copy this. Because I'm using Windows on a Mac, not all of the arrows and everything work properly. So normally you should be able to select the column just by taking the top one and then Shift Control with the down arrow. It will take you right to the bottom of the column. But I'm not able to do that because I'm using Windows on Mac. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this first part and then paste it. We have two variables here. So it will go all the way from C1 to D4497. So you see that the length of the dependent variable is 4,497, and now we've got two columns that are included in here. We're going to have the output go into a new worksheet. There are other things that you can play with afterwards if you like, but they're a very basic regression. This is all the information that you need to provide. Click on OK, and you will be moved automatically to a new sheet. A new sheet will have the results of your regression. And so we have, like we did in class, the very similar output. We have information on our coefficients, and this means this particular coefficient says that for each additional year, each year that someone grows older, they will travel 133 more meters. That's one thing that we're interested in, of course. That's also what we would expect, because generally we'd expect as people grow older, they're likely to travel more. If we look at the t-statistic, because we want to check for statistical significance, we'll see that it's very large, 7.46, which is much, much larger than a t-statistic of somewhere around 2. So the absolute value of our t-statistic is much larger than a t-statistic of 2. We can also see that the p-value is extremely small. For females, so all the people in the sample that are females, they travel, on average, 1,896 meters less than men. We can look at our t-statistic to see if this is significant, and we see that the t-statistic of minus 2.9, absolute value of that is 2.9, is larger than what is a t-statistic for statistical significance level of 5%, which is generally around 2. So we conclude that as well is statistically significant. If we look at our p-value, we see that it's statistically significant at around 3 or 4%. Our r-squared is found up here. It's very small, only 1%. With our adjusted r-squared, it's a little bit smaller. So that is how you conduct a regression using Excel.